Welcome to Extraordinary League, an actual play RPG podcast brought to you by Smash Fiction. I'm Dan Mulkerin, your game master. Playing Stitch is Kit Mulkerin.
So, who's gonna almost die this time? Not it!
Playing Dante is Liz Logan.
I feel lost. Oh, so lost. So very lost. Yoshi!
Oh.
Playing Nico Minoru is Miles Schneiderman.
If you guys could just do me a favor this episode and kind of, clear the way for me to do all kinds of awesome magic stuff. I have a Smash Fiction match coming up, and I could really use some extra evidence to be culled from this episode, so thanks, guys.
Playing Little Lovegood is Megan Bob.
Nico, have you already used the spell Fix Wand?
Playing Vivian is Claire Mulkerin.
So, as the team was driving from Peach's castle to Bowser's castle, Nico and Vivian, I don't know what I'm just talking, Miles.
Sure, yeah.
They were sharing a vehicle, they had some time to hang out, and Nico was introducing Vivian into all sorts of, Earth culture things, and she had some old, comic books and pulp novels that she gave her, and there was one really old pulpy noir character that Vivian really started to develop an affection for, and do you guys know who that was?
No, who was it?
Was it the question?
The Spirit. Trying out ghost funds. That's my new thing. Ghost funds.
Previously, you managed to acquire the Sapphire in the Mushroom Kingdom, only to have your DDC stolen from you, stranding you in this alien world. The guilty party in all this was one Dr. Robotnik, who had created the army of robots which the Koopa King Bowser used to conquer the Mushroom Kingdom. You have arrived at the fortress formerly known as Bowser's Castle, only to find that Robotnik has not been idle. He has been experimenting with the DDC, creating a dimensional debuffer machine, which has caused the wall between worlds to grow dangerously thin. More immediately, however, he has converted this world's greatest hero into his servant, Mecha Mario. The scene opens in one of the great halls of Bowser's Castle, which until recently had been turned into a massive robot assembly line, although that now lies in smoking scraps across the stone floor. The five of you, along with the Raptor Lace, Bowser, and Luigi, face down Mecha Mario, a figure crafted of red and blue metal who peers at all of you through cold red mechanical eyes. Floating above on a flat, open metal platform is Robotnik, his eager cackles echoing off the stone walls. And finally, a hapless mushroom-capped lawyer named Daniel D. Cornwall, accidentally summoned by Nico, begins to look for a place to hide, as it is becoming increasingly obvious that you're going to roll initiative.
12.
Ooh, 11.
10.
11.
I got a 3.
And I need an initiative roll for Luigi and Bowser as well.
So he got a 7. Luigi did.
6.
Stitch, you were up first.
So I see that Past Kit has written a little note at the bottom of my character sheet that says, "Steal Eggman's goggles."
Okay.
So we're in Robotnik's mostly destroyed factory.
Yeah, Robotnik is sort of floating above it all, standing on this, metal floating platform.
Oh, Stitch is gonna try to get up there.
Okay.
Parkour.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have you roll for that. Stitch just sort of scrabbles up a nearby pillar and then leaps out, heading towards the platform. However, Robotnik does have a force field, so if you're gonna try to, get there, you're gonna have to break through it. So you can, do a charge attack, or you can try to just use your strength, or you can, throw something into it, or however it is that you want to try to get through it.
He's gonna flat land on the force field, just kind of slowly begins to slide down it.
Yeah, this glowing, shimmering hemisphere sort of appears, sprouting out in all directions from where you hit.
Stitch is gonna slam a fist down onto it.
Okay, just go ahead and make a strength check for me.
Yellow.
Nice. You start to pound on this thing, and you're actually seeing cracks appear in the force field itself. You haven't broken it yet, but you're definitely on your way.
He's gonna just start doing that, licking motion.
And now that you're in this vantage point where you're kind of partially above him, you actually see that sitting next to him on this platform is the DDC. Robotnik looks up as you're clearly about to break through his force field. He reaches down and hits a button on his belt, and you see that there's sort of this hemisphere of metal that suddenly extends up from the corners of the platform and over him in a dome. The dome looks like the top half of his head. but just like made out of metal, like including like the goggles and like the big mustache and everything.
Right.
And then at this point, there's a panel that opens up on the ground underneath him, and you see there's this giant red and yellow robot that rises up out of the bottom and attaches itself to the dome he's now in, thus creating a head. He's basically now in a giant robotic version of himself. If anyone is curious as to what this robot looks like, you can do an image search for Death Egg Robot. So that was Robotnik's turn. He's now in a giant robot. Nico, it is your turn.
Actually, the first thing that Nico is going to do is throw down with a little
Bankrock, Sentek, Ulioth.
and get a shield around myself.
Cool. Go ahead and roll your psyche check, please.
That is a yellow.
Glowing blue sparks appear and begin orbiting around you, ready to protect you from any incoming attacks. And that brings us to Luna. What would you like to do?
I'm going to use Defendo, and it tears up to incredible strength materials. I just want to tear right down the middle of it. At the least, try to cut open the chest plate portion of it. Maybe there's some gears or something in there. I don't know. Stitch can probably get in there and play with stuff.
He has been known to play. Why don't you give me your psyche check, Luna?
Oh yeah, that's a green. All right.
Pointing your wand and saying Defendo, there is suddenly an ear-splitting shriek of tearing metal as a giant gaping hole is torn in the center of this robot. The Death Egg takes a fair amount of damage and also now has a big obvious spot where it has no body armor and is open directly into its guts. Dante, it is your turn.
Dr. Robotnik, whatever, egg robot. His legs look a little vulnerable.
Sure.
So I want to take Terminator hand, bro, and go for the back of his knee.
Does Dante call his hand bro?
Has a name.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time in the Mario universe, you can tell. Dante, why don't you give me a fighting check, please?
Okay. Oh my god, that's a red.
Nice. So you run across this room, maybe like slide underneath some of the wreckage or like leap over it, but you land on the far side of Robotnik, cock back your robot fist, and then punch, and you basically remove his leg below the knee. Like, yeah, the entire leg goes flying off in a shower of sparks and lands with a crash on the far side of the room. He is now severely unbalanced. It is Luigi's turn.
I have an idea for something that I want Luigi to do with Vivian. Luigi's gonna hold.
Okay, Luigi is on hold. It is Bowser's turn, and at the start of his turn, the giant robotic head on Robotnik's machine turns and looks at him, and Robotnik's voice booms out from the machine and says, Bowser, I have to say, I thought better of you. It must be obvious to you that you're being used by people who see you as a puppet to be manipulated and plan on turning on you the second you stop dancing to their tune. Bowser roars back, Shut up! They helped me! Luna was nice to me when she didn't have to be.
Aww.
Robotnik responds, Oh really? As it happens, I sent a number of robotic drones to spy on Mushroom Castle after I learned you'd been defeated, and just what did I hear?
Oh, man.
And then you hear the voices of Luna and Peach begin to come out of the robot.
If we have to, if we truly have to, we have Nico.
I don't understand.
I think if Bowser presents a threat, I think Nico can handle it, probably in a fairly permanent situation.
Bowser stands for a long moment, shaking slightly. He then turns toward Luna with hurt and rage burning in his eyes and roars incoherently with any ability to speak beyond him now. Bowser is no longer under your control. Vivian, it is your turn.
Hey, Mario. You're looking rather sturdy. I like your rivets. Those look new.
Mecha Mario's head swivels over towards you and locks onto you with his glowing red eyes and says,
Mecha Mario is made of only the finest of materials.
Vivian says, you remember me, right? Vivian? Your buddy? Remember that 1,000-year door stuff we did?
Mecha Mario identifies only targets.
Figures. Alright, Luigi, let's do that thing we talked about. So, I have a weird idea. Since I'm a ghost, kind of, I think Luigi's gonna suck me up in the Poltergust 5000 and then fire me at Mario at high speed.
Oh,
Yeah.
such a good fastball special.
And I'm gonna do a flying shade fist at him, which is my punch where it can set you on fire.
I'm gonna have Luigi make an agility check to see if he can aim you properly with the poltergust.
Alright, I'm gonna use some of his very limited supply of karma on
Sounds
this.
good.
Okay, I did not have to. When I add in the minimum 10 that I have to spend, that becomes a red.
You hit Mecha Mario straight on with a flying, flaming Shade Fist. And he is set on fire. Mecha Mario is rocked backward by the impact as you land nearby after hitting him. And he then swivels his head over towards you, and then like the rest of his body swivels toward you, and he holds out his hand, and you see this little like nozzle comes out of his palm and begins to emit a long stream of fire at you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my veil evasion trick.
Cool.
That's a green.
So yeah, you manage to duck down into the Shadow Realm just at the last second as the flames lick where you just were standing. So you manage to avoid that attack. And then at the end of the round, Daniel D. Cornwall utters a terrified squeak and prays that there's somewhere safe in the castle that he can hide, and runs off in a random direction. We're back to the top with Stitch. So Stitch, you are now atop the robot Death Egg.
Stitch is gonna try and get all up in that hole that Luna made.
Cool. All right, so you are scrambling down his head and then over his chest, heading for the hole.
Yeah, reverse xenomorph him.
Yeah. So you can easily get in there. What is it that you want to do when you're there?
I'm gonna fucking find this asshole, or rather his goggles, and I'm gonna take them.
Okay. So you're basically like burrowing straight for the pilot.
Yeah.
I like it.
I will not fail you, past Kit.
I have a fucking destiny, all right?
All right. Let's see if you do. Give me a strength check to see you tear through the innards of this thing.
It's a green.
Nice. Basically, you all see Stitch disappear into the rift in this thing's armor, and then a few seconds later, you just see, like, cogs and bits of circuitry start, like, flying out, as though, like, you know, Stitch were in a closet, like, throwing clothes out, trying to decide what to wear. But they go clattering across the ground as the robot starts to spasm and jerk in weird ways. Stitch, you have basically made it to the cockpit where Robotnik is. So you can see him there, sort of like surrounded by a bunch of controls and screens, sitting in a chair as you poke your head down.
Here's Stitchy!
Very good. Okay, it is Robotnik's turn.
He lets out a shrill shriek.
Yeah, he absolutely does, because he just realized that he didn't put in any defenses for the interior of this thing. I think he's just gonna try to, like, shake you out, because you're sort of like, only your head is sticking into the cockpit. So he's gonna make this thing sort of like spin around, which is not easy because Dante removed one of its legs. But he's basically gonna try to like spin so that you fly out. He does pretty well. Like, he's able to remain upright and get some good speed. Stitch, why don't you make a strength check to see if you can hang on as this thing's trying to throw you out?
100, motherfucker.
Holy cow. Robotnik's going fast. Stitch ain't going nowhere.
It's like I'm super strong and I have wall crawling.
Yeah. Nico, what would you like to do?
I don't know if you guys know this, but because we haven't spent a whole lot of time together, he and I, but there was one night where Archer and I had a few drinks and just hung out, and he did relay to me this one story that...
Are you setting up a shadow pun?
No, merely explaining why I'm choosing this point to raise my staff pointed at Robotnik's technology, and with a brief moment of regret that I'll never be able to use these words in combination to cast a spell again, say... Dancing Pirate. Wow, 31, which is a green by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, as I recall, that's the minimum for you to get a green.
That is correct.
So what happens?
Well, I mean, all his computers get overtaken by dancing pirates going, what?
So janky little 8-bit dancing pirate animations suddenly fill every screen in his cockpit, and he begins screaming and pounding on the controls with both fists as he reaches for the hard reset button. Luna, it is your turn.
Luna's gonna put her wand down on the ground.
So what are you doing as you approach Bowser?
How coherent does he look?
He doesn't really have the wherewithal to speak coherently right now. He sees what happened as a deep betrayal.
I am so sorry that I made that deal, and I made it because I was scared and because I was afraid to trust that you would do the right thing. And I know that I can't make it up to you. But I want you to know that it was really nice having you as a friend while I got to have you as a friend.
Luna, make a psyche check with a bonus if you have persuasion.
No, I got a white.
Bowser simply responds with a growl and a snarl and a puff of reddened smoke from his nostrils, and he says, "How can I possibly believe anything out of your mouth ever again?"
I I understand. And I put my wand down because I would rather be hurt being wrong about you than to do anything else to hurt you. So, I don't know. I guess make the choice that you have to make.
Dante, it is your turn.
I'm gonna say, it looks like your computer systems don't live up to your scientific standard of excellence.
Ah!
Boom. Then I'll just punch him.
All right. Sure. Give me a fighting check.
That is a green.
You smack this robot with all the enhanced strength that a half-demon with a robot hand can muster, causing a sizable dent in its side and causing it to wobble unsteadily on its feet. It is still up, but boy oh boy, it probably won't be for long if you keep hitting it like that. Bowser looks down at Luna with anger twisting his features. But then, Luna, you see the emotion shift almost imperceptibly from anger to just grief. As far as I'm concerned, you all can have this castle. I don't even want it anymore. And with that, he just turns and walks out the entrance. Vivian, it is your turn.
Well, I kind of did my one trick. I'm not very good at fighting people.
Right.
And now I'm fighting Mario. I think that for right now, Vivian's going to hold for just a sec. She's going to keep hiding, and I'm going to give Luigi a chance to try to persuade him. Mario, surely you don't want to hurt me. It's your brother, Luigi.
Give me a psyche check for Luigi.
That's a yellow.
Mecha Mario turns toward Luigi and fixes his mechanical eyes on him, but they begin to kind of like flicker uncertainly, and he replies,
Does not to compute. Mecha Mario has no brothers.
Aww.
But you can tell that, like, something is going on with that programming. You've begun to chip away at it.
There's a little spark that flies off him.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to try something weird as Vivian.
Sure, go for it.
I'm going to reach my hand up from the shadowy place and grab Mario by the ankle and pull him down into the shadow realm.
Okay, so this is going to be a grappling check, so I need you to make a strength check.
Okay, I'm going to use some karma.
Is this like a 7 minutes in heaven thing? Is that what's about to happen?
I'm going to bring that up to a yellow.
You manage to grab Mecha Mario by the ankle and yank him down into the shadow realm.
I'm kind of like trying to do a little bit of like a sensory deprivation thing. We never see what it looks like in Paper Mario. Obviously, you just kind of disappear into a little shadow on the ground. But I'm picturing just kind of, whatever purpley black swirliness, yeah. I assume. I just kind of want Vivian to look at him and say, it's okay. There's no one around who's going to hurt you. There's no targets. You can relax. This is a safe place. I say you don't have to hurt anyone right now.
Mecha Mario fixes you with his mechanical eyes, seems to take in what you're saying, and then says,
No threats detected. Shutting it down.
And his eyes go dark, and he just sort of, like, slumps over partially.
Ooh.
You have deactivated Mecha Mario with the power of your love and friendship. Elsewhere in the castle, Daniel D. Cornwall, attorney at law.
Yay!
I've never been more excited for a cutaway.
NPC.
Creeps through a hallway, eyes looking around wildly from behind his small round spectacles. His briefcase is clutched tightly to his chest, the one remaining shred of evidence that a rational world exists, and that he may at some point be able to return to it. He tentatively pokes his head around first one doorway, then another, hoping that one will lead to an exit from this madhouse, and is inevitably disappointed every time. Eventually, he rounds the corner of yet another hallway, and stops. At the end of the hallway is a large doorway, from which flickers a shimmering purple light. Something in that room calls to Cornwall, slipping right past his conscious mind and deep into his brainstem. His arms suddenly relax, going limp at his sides, and his briefcase falls to the ground, papers falling in a meaningless pile all around it. Cornwall makes his way into the room at the pace of a sleepwalker. Inside, he sees Robotnik's dimensional debuffer, a towering work of gleaming metal and glass orbs containing lashing tendrils of purple electricity. The center of this machine is a massive metal ring standing upright, in which the very fabric of this world is being eroded away. Noises, smells, and physical sensations that belong in other dimensions pop in and out of existence around this titanic gateway. Most of them vanish as soon as they appear, but one does not. Within the bounds of this gate, Cornwall glimpses a shape, massive and dark and utterly terrifying. And somehow, Cornwall knows that this figure is looking right back at him. His feet carry him over to the controls of the dimensional debuffer, His hands begin to work these controls, pushing the already limited safeguards past their breaking point. His eyes look up and into the gate as the shape within becomes more solid, more real, and draws in closer. And his lips begin to mouth an alien phrase over and over. Yeah! Yeah! Cthulhu Fatan!
Fuck me! No!
Oh, fuck.
Son of a bitch!
Back in the castle hall, a low rumble begins to emanate from somewhere else within the castle, quickly escalating to a roar with the intensity of a jet engine. The floor and walls of the castle shake violently as deep cracks appear and rubble begins to fall in great chunks from the ceiling. Any thought of the outcome of this battle is briefly put on hold as everyone makes a mad dash for the drawbridge that leads outside. Once you are back in the rocky, lava-veined wasteland outside, you look back and see the castle crumble apart as a gigantic form rises from it. Towering over the surrounding mountain peaks, this creature's body could only charitably be described as humanoid, as it is covered by dark, rubbery flesh, has gigantic bat-like wings sprouting from its back, and its head looks distinctly cephalopodic, with a mass of writhing tentacles extending from the bottom of its bulbous head. The merest glimpse of this creature's monstrous alien visage is enough to shake your sanity to its core. Everyone, please make a psyche check.
I got a red 100.
I got a green.
Vivian got a yellow.
I got a green.
Oh, Luigi got a 1.
Oh, no!
Does anyone know how to gibber in an Italian accent?
What did you get, Stitch?
I'm just gonna stick with that white. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't want to spend that much karma.
All right. So
If Stitch goes rats in the walls on anyone, it's gonna be a real bad day.
Yeah, it is.
Luigi is no longer capable of communicating.
Oh, no.
Stitch, you have amnesia. You do not remember who you are, where you are, or who any of these people are.
Oh, no. All you know is that for some reason you want the goggles.
And that is a deep emotional
Yeah, that's like
knowledge.
that's your core.
That proceeds
attribute.
past rationality.
Yeah, Stitch knows that if only he can get those goggles, everything will be right again.
That's right. Nico, you go into a screaming fit when you see this thing. Your conscious mind temporarily takes a break.
I mean, that sounds right.
You are training enough with the toad.
I've seen it before.
Luna, on the other hand, has become catatonic.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
She is just sort of standing there, but her face is completely blank. She has no will, she has no interest, she's just kind of gone. To set the scene as to what else has happened, Vivian, I will say that you managed to emerge from the Shadow Realm and sort of pull Mecha Mario with you out of the castle, so he's just sort of like lying there, still deactivated, but otherwise unharmed. Robotnik actually had to abandon his robot and is now lying unconscious on the ground, presumably with Stitch sitting on his head.
Absolutely.
So Stitch, you are currently holding the DDC in one hand and the goggles in the other, although you actually don't know what either of these things are, what they do, or why you're holding them. In the meantime, Dread Cthulhu briefly scans the landscape with dark, inhuman eyes, and then seems to choose a direction and begins to walk. Those of you that are still conscious and cognizant realize after a second that Cthulhu is on a beeline for Mushroom Castle.
Who is still that?
So Dante is still has command of his senses. Vivian does, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm totally fine.
Nico will probably be fine. She just kind of needs a sec.
Okay.
And Luna will probably be fine as well. She's just sort of like went into informational overload and needs some time to process.
Probably some PTSD from the war.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Stitch and Luigi are a bit kind of longer term issues in ahead of them.
Okay.
So eventually, those of you who are not Stitch and Luigi are able to get your wits about you.
I'm gonna say that Lace is nudging Luna, like trying to get her to respond.
Yeah, I mean, after like probably a minute or two, Luna eventually comes out of her catatonia, and Nico stops screaming and is able to sort of catch her breath.
Oh, I'm just imagining Lace acting like a service animal with Luna,
No.
just like nudging, like trying to put weight against her.
Yeah.
Is that a thing from another world?
Who cares? Let's kill it.
It is most definitely a thing from another world. It is referenced a few times in my book.
Okay. Is it a friend of yours, then?
No. It's not really a friend of anyone, at least not anyone human. Yeah, it's probably gonna try to eat your entire world now. Those who serve it basically do so in the hopes that they will be able to enjoy some last-minute hedonism before they die. Its name is Cthulhu, and it's bad news.
So, kill it.
Sure?
Nico, you have seen rituals for dealing with beings like this in the Tome of Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, that's very true. They require lots and lots of powerful magic that takes time to set up.
Yes. Thinking back to your intensive study of the book, you can actually think of a ritual that could probably banish Cthulhu from this plane altogether. You would just need probably several rounds of him remaining in roughly the same place for you to be able to focus it. So, like, he would have to be kind of held or distracted sufficiently for you to put that together.
I mean, I suppose we could also just try to kill it, but I don't think that's going to go too well.
Does anyone have a boat?
Luna's gonna send her Patronus, the nearest person probably is Bowser, and just say, get away as fast as you can. If you want to be a good person and tell other people, I would really appreciate that. If you don't, then at least you stay safe. That's the best I can do as far as saving lives right now.
Yeah, Stitch is staring at the goggles in his hand, and then at the DDC, and then back at the goggles, puts the goggles on, and then just kind of starts looking at all the weird people around him. He's got, like, all of his arms and antenna extended. It's just, like, his natural state.
Stitch?
Stitch does not respond to that.
I don't mean to be at all insensitive, but if we don't stop that thing, it's going to kill a whole lot of people real quick.
What do you need us to do?
I might need you to help me cast some runes.
Okay. I didn't do great in that class, but I did not do badly.
Dante, do you think you can maybe distract it?
Oh yeah, I can definitely do that.
Alright.
Dante is instantly naked.
Vivian's gonna start messing with Mecha Mario and trying to, like, opening him up.
Okay, why don't you give me a reason check?
Green.
It's a clumsy job, but it looks like this kind of shell that is Mecha Mario was built for, like, easy access to the subject within. So after just kind of a few minutes of messing around with it, you're able to pop off the front half of it and open it up. Inside, you can see the unconscious form of Mario, who has been hooked into this thing by a series of wires, and he's been sort of, like, latched into the inside. He's clearly, like, hooked up to this thing, but it doesn't look like his body itself was really altered in any way.
Is he wearing clothing?
He is wearing clothing, yes. It's like a jumpsuit.
Okay, form-fitting jumpsuit. Is he wearing his hat?
No, he is not.
I would say, I don't know what I'm doing here. I would like to unhook him. Is there, like, a brilliant alien doctor around who can come help me? If we want to beat this thing, waking up Mario is the way to do it. Trust me, that's how things work here.
What does he do?
He's Mario!
That name means nothing to me.
Renervate.
Roll a psyche check, Luna.
Okay, I'm using Karma. That is a red.
Nice.
Oh, dang.
So, Luna, you walk over, point your wand down at the prone form of Mario and say, Renervate. A spark of light appears at the end of your wand, and Mario's eyes open, and he looks down at his situation, reaches up and begins unplugging himself from this machine and breaks anywhere where he's attached to it. And then sits up, looking very groggy, shakes his head and says, Whew, Mamma mia.
Vivian is now hiding in the ground.
What horrible nightmare is this?
Oh, you have no idea.
He stands up, pulling the last of the wires out from where they attach to him, and looks around and says, Are we near Bowser's castle? What is going on?
Mario, we don't really have time to fill you in because you're a fan of Princess Peach, right?
Oh yes, of course, the princess.
Yeah. So that you see that big thing over there? Oh, wait, no, don't look at it. Just take it on faith. There's a big thing over there walking toward the castle. It's gonna stomp it flat.
All right. So we're going to stop it, yes?
Yeah, that's the plan.
He nods. At this point, Luigi has run up to him and has just thrown his arms around his big brother and is holding him tightly.
Aw.
The brothers exchange a hug. Mario realizes quickly that for some reason Luigi is unable to speak, but just sort of like puts a pin in that and instead turns to you, Nico, and says, "So, what's the plan?"
Meanwhile, Stitch has been, like, beep-booping the DDC and, like, twirling knobs and shit, and then, like, hitting it against the ground a little bit to see if it does anything. And then he just, like, chucks the DDC.
I'm gonna say that Lace catches it in midair, in her mouth, and just sort of, like, hangs on to it, because she knows it's important.
Stitch instead looks at the others, and his short attention span causes him to walk on over to Luna.
Hi, Stitch. Are you feeling okay?
He, like, tilts his head at Stitch, and then jumps on her and tries to take her wand.
No, we need that.
Instantly gets bored and then jumps on over to Nico and tries to take her staff.
I point the staff at Stitch and say, "Total recall." That's a green.
Hey!
Stitch, your memories come back.
He looks around confused, sees that he's holding the staff and still tries to take it a little.
Let it
Well,
go.
if I stole this, it was probably for a good reason.
But I'm gonna say that you catch a reflection of yourself in the metal top of the Staff of One, and you see that you're wearing some really cool goggles.
I got them.
At which point, I frantically start looking through the book for that ritual.
Yeah, you're able to find the banishing spell. In order to target an entity of this scale, you're going to need a lot of instances of the rune Pargon, which is used to amplify the power of a spell, which is why the spell is going to take so long to cast, is basically you're just casting a line of Pargon runes and then the actual content of the spell afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so yeah, you've found the ritual, you know exactly how to cast it. What do you guys do?
Dante, go.
Right. Rip off coat. Start just running. Witness me!
Who all is going to be attacking Cthulhu in order to distract him while Nico performs the spell? Everyone? Or do other people have other ideas?
I'm stealing Luna to help me cast it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So the two of you are going to double team it then.
Yeah.
Can I help with this, even though it's not the same kind of magic?
Yes, because the Pargon is a basic ritual. So, like, Nico will be in charge of the core of the spell, which is essentially choosing an action, a target, and then an Elder God whose power to borrow, and you're just sort of, like, providing the juice for it. So yes, the two of you working together can actually cut the prep time in half.
If Charms taught me anything, it's that 3 witches is way more powerful than 2.
Coven.
Do you count as a witch? Is Vivian a witch?
She's, like, inherently magical, I think, and has, like, a witch hat, and does sort of magical things.
I would be fine with counting her as a witch for purposes of casting a group ritual.
Alright, well then Vivian, you too.
Okay?
Alright. Yeah. Vivian does not, by the way, come up and say any of this until after Mario has left.
Okay.
And gone off with the rest of the party, and then she pops up, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna help you guys with the ritual.
We could do this.
So, this is the way this is going to work. Stitch, Lace, Dante, Luigi, and Mario are all running to attack Cthulhu. Every round, each of them is going to have to decide what it is that they are doing that's going to draw Cthulhu's attention. Once they've decided that, they get to make the appropriate check for whatever it is that they're doing. The result will give you guys a certain number of points, and if you can exceed Cthulhu's threshold every round, he will stop in his journey and instead turn his attention to you, meaning that the witches can spend a round casting the spell. So Cthulhu continues making his way across the volcanic landscape, heading for Mushroom Castle, as Stitch, Lace, Dante, Luigi, and Mario come up from behind him. Let me know what each of you would like to do.
How far away from us is he?
By the time we get to the point where you guys have to start making rolls, like, you've basically, like, caught up to him. So you're, like, running up to him.
Oh, we're, like, running up to this
Or potentially,
mountain.
like, riding on your carts if you want to grab those instead.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Stitch still feels a little, like, shaken.
Yeah.
Especially when he has to see Cthulhu again. Can Stitch and Lace ride with someone?
They can ride with Luigi in the Jeep.
That's true, yeah. Luigi's gonna ride the Jurassic Park Jeep and Stitch is gonna hang out with him.
Yeah, okay.
I want to hang off the Jeep too.
Haha, sweet.
If Mario's in there too, then, like, that's too many people in this Jeep, I think.
No, it's fine.
maybe-
Luigi's in the front, Lace and Stitch are in the back, and then Dante and Mario are each hanging off the side.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So Stitch is gonna look up at Cthulhu and be like, I have looked upon all that the universe has to hold of horror, and even the skies of spring and the flowers of summer must ever afterward be poison to me.
Oh.
But I'm still gonna throw him. Hit the gas!
Yeah, Luigi's gonna just floor it and try to just kind of drive past him, turn around and just drive back and forth and weave kind of around his feet. And if people want to jump out and do stuff, they can, but he's just going to be kind of annoying him at ankle level.
What is everyone else doing?
Flying off onto Cthulhu, obviously.
Yeah, Stitch is gonna throw himself onto Cthulhu's ankle. Stitch is pretty fast. He's gonna climb up as much as he can.
Okay.
Let's try to get to the top. Let's help throw each other up. Let's do this so stupid JRPG style.
This
Fucking
is great.
Advent Children bullshit.
Yes.
What's Lace doing?
Oh, Lace is gonna stay in the car. She's a dinosaur, Dan. What the fuck? She is not gonna deal with this.
All right, she's just there for moral support.
Yes.
All right, and
she holds like one little thumb up.
as Luigi is doing donuts around Cthulhu, Mario is hanging off the side, just like flinging fireballs one after the other at him. Stitch and Dante, I'm going to need both of you to make strength checks with a bonus for athletics if you have them. And Luigi is going to have to make an agility check. And I will be rolling for Mario's fireballs.
I got a yellow.
Yellow.
Luigi has a green.
All right, all of you have sufficiently distracted Cthulhu that he stops in his seemingly inexorable march and very slowly turns his titanic dark eyes at you. And looking at these things is like staring into a cosmic void. But you have at the very least gotten him to stop.
Okay, shit, we got his attention. Start casting.
Okay.
Go ahead and do your psyche checks, witches.
Yellow.
Yellow.
I'll do some karma. Oh, dang, I rolled a 94, so yeah.
Air attack Ulioth.
Blue runes begin to appear in a gigantic circle around Cthulhu. At this point, it looks like they're about halfway around. And Cthulhu acts. He's looking down at all of these insects that are running around him, and he, for just a moment, directs his will at you. All of you that are in the distraction party need to make an endurance check.
Yellow.
I got a green.
Luigi got a green.
And Lace?
That's yellow.
Those of you that got a yellow result take 50 damage. That ignores body armor.
Oh.
As this wave of distorted reality hits you and threatens to separate your atoms apart. Those of you that got a green result, which I believe is Luigi and Dante,
Yeah.
take 100 damage.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for Luigi. Luigi's out.
Oh shit! Oh no, the driver's out.
Yes.
Lace has to grab the wheel.
Dinosaur, take the reel.
So down below Cthulhu, the Jeep suddenly begins to like swerve and spiral out of control. Mario leaps to grab his brother before he goes flying out of the Jeep, and Lace leaps into the driver's seat and manages to stabilize it.
It's a very clever girl.
The circle is half complete, but Cthulhu is still active. Distraction team, your job is not yet over. What do you do now?
All right, how far up Cthulhu have we thrown each other?
I'll say you guys are like right around where his collarbone would be, presuming that his anatomy worked that way.
Oh fuck yeah! Let's grab him by the tentacles and do some bullshit.
Oh my god, let's tie them together.
Give him like a sweet ass dwarf beard, all braided and shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What about Lace?
Lace is gonna continue doing some Tokyo drift, some Jurassic drift.
All right, so she's gonna take over from Luigi.
She is going to make her second driving check in this arc. The first one did not go well, and you would think that we would engineer things so that it would never have to happen again, and yet here we are.
All right, so distraction team, everyone's gonna have to make an agility check.
Listen, how else is she gonna learn how to drive if she doesn't get to practice?
Absolutely.
That's true.
I got a green.
I got a white.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
And how about Lace?
She's learning. She got a yellow.
Wow.
She got this.
Lace carried it. You guys would not have succeeded if she had rolled lower.
Oh,
Wow.
Lace.
But
You doubted my dinosaur.
It's Lace's stunt driving
Clever
that will
girl.
be remembered as the thing which held Cthulhu just a moment longer. Cthulhu is once again momentarily distracted, kind of by the things crawling around on his tentacles, but mainly by he just looks down, and somewhere in the depths of his unfathomable alien brain occurs the thought, is that dinosaur driving a Jeep? Witches, make your psyche check, please.
Wait, does Cthulhu have to make a psyche check?
Yeah, Cthulhu makes his first ever sanity check.
I'm gonna expend karma on this one.
I got a yellow.
Red.
Oh, nope, that's a white. I didn't spend karma this time, I'm sorry. I got a red last time, then I got overconfident.
Vivian is not used to this sort of ritualized, focused spellcasting, and after a moment, one of her extended arms drops, and then the second, and then she passes out on the ground, leaving Luna and Nico to complete the spell.
Oh no.
Luna continues mouthing the Rune of Power,
Pargon, Pargon, Pargon.
as it continues to appear in an ever-expanding circle around Cthulhu. Nico watches as the two ends of the circle race together to meet, and she only needs to speak the final rune in order to complete the spell. Nico, you look down at the Tome of Eternal Darkness open in your hands. The rune you were intending on using that would complete the spell is Nethlek, which means roughly dispel. That would banish Cthulhu from the plane. However, your eyes drift momentarily over to the rune Bankarok, which means protect, which will, instead of banishing Cthulhu, bind Cthulhu to you.
Evil! Don't do it!
What do you do?
No one can truly bind.
It's a trap!
Yeah.
The background was ever right, it's a trap!
What are the two runes again?
Nethlek if you wish to banish him, or Bankarok if you wish to bind him.
I'm so glad you're doing this, Nico. Thank you.
This is such an unambiguously good thing you are doing.
Well, it's been nice knowing all ya.
Nico looks at the two runes. Fuck it. Fuck all of it.
Nethlek.
Oh, Jesus.
The final rune appears in the circle. Directly above the rune circle appears a circle of equal size. However, this one leads into the space in between planes where Cthulhu had been initially. He looks up, sees it, and for a brief moment, this great old one knows panic.
Stitch looks at Dante and is like, follow my lead. Stitch is gonna grab a tentacle firmly with all of his little paws. No, I'm gonna say half of his little paws. And start running down Cthulhu's body so that Cthulhu's head is being dragged downward.
Great idea!
Cthulhu's head slams into the ground, and then Stitch is like, now swing! Now that, like, their feet are on the ground, we're gonna swing Cthulhu around by the tentacles to get some momentum, and then chuck his ass into that portal.
Using Cthulhu's face as a fulcrum, the two of you spin around several times and throw the great old one into the space between dimensions, through a portal which closes shut behind him. The runes around it burn out, permanently etched into the landscape, and there is the sound of distant retreating thunder as the plane has been saved from certain destruction once again.
Stitch and Dante proceed to chest bump.
Nico's just kind of sitting there looking at the book.
I imagine you all meet up afterwards.
Luna's like crying on Nico's shoulder a little bit.
Oh, Stitch and Lace notice and like run over. Luna!
No, it's okay. It's just, thanks, guys.
Mario is, of course, still rather confused about what precisely has been happening, although I imagine that someone has filled him in.
I'm currently far too unconscious to hide from him.
Actually, that's true. Vivian, I imagine you come to, and you see Mario is sort of like kneeling over you looking concerned.
Vivian's like entire body just turns bright red. And then and she like pulls down her hat over her eyes, which already were covered by her hair.
Vivian, are you alright? It looks like you took a nasty spill there. When did you come here?
Vivian cocks her hat back. She's like, oh, that was nothing. That's fine. It was all part of the deal. You know, like Luna and Nico, they were having some trouble with the spell, so I had to take on a bit more of it. And, you know, it just took a lot out of me because I had to do so much of the heavy lifting, you know, because, I mean, they're pretty good at the magic thing, but I had to teach them. You know, us real tough, good hero types like you and me, we gotta show these newbies how it's done sometimes, right? You know what I mean?
You know, you don't have to try so hard all of the time. People like you for who you are.
Okay. I don't do that. I don't. Yeah, you're probably right.
Are you coming back to the Mushroom Kingdom with us?
Yeah, I guess, if that's where we're going. I'm glad to see that you're okay.
I'm glad to be okay. I'm glad that everyone is okay.
Nico looks up from the book for the first time in a long time. What do you mean you're going back to the Mushroom Kingdom?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
I mean, I don't think that's what you're actually doing.
Why is that? Where am I going?
You're coming with us.
Oh, Vivian looks up at where the portal was. If it's gonna be more stuff like that, I don't know if I want to get involved.
I'm pretty sure you just faced down the toughest thing any of us have ever had to, and you acquitted yourself pretty well for not actually knowing the magic you were doing.
You were amazing.
You crushed it.
Vivian's like halfway sunk down into the ground again. There's a lot of people looking at me right now, and I don't. Can I get like some space?
Luna turns to face the opposite direction.
I mean, do what you want. I'm just saying that's, we could probably use you. Who has the DDC? Let's get out of here.
Lace holds it up.
Thank you, Lace.
On a hillside overlooking the ruins of Bowser's Castle, the League, plus their newest member Vivian, gather close together, and Mario and Luigi watch as, in Nico's hand, the DDC pops open, a crackling white bubble of electricity expands around them, and they vanish from the world. Extraordinary League is produced by Dan Mulkerin, with logo design by Claire Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Motherload, and to TabletopAudio.com for our background music and ambient sound effects.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going. And we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Could you just remind me again, like, from a practical standpoint, where everyone is in relation to everyone else?
You can kind of envision it a little bit like a Final Fantasy battle where, like, all the good guys are, like, on one side and all the bad guys are on the other side. Obviously, it's not going to stay that way as things get complex.
Doesn't help me that much, but thank you, Dad. I appreciate you trying.
You mean the Final Fantasy metaphor didn't
that's
help?
Right.
All right.
No, that's strangely. It's fine.
So it's like in pro wrestling, like when, like if you're if you're in a team battle, like right when it starts, how everyone is kind of like on their sides of the ring, and like as it goes on later, everyone's going to get mixed up in the middle. But like at the start, like everyone's kind of on their sides facing each other. That's what it's like.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. And the force field is?
The force field is like when you get up on the turnbuckles. You know, like those ropes that you run into and you can like bounce off of them?
Very good.
Yeah, sure. No, please, I'm living for this. Keep it up.